Hello everyone. Welcome to the Mole Hole. I'm your host Chriz, aka the Mole. Joining me is James Phoenix
Hello.
and Marcus Shadow.
Hello.
This is one of the many Halloween themed videos I was doing this month, and this one happens to be Justice League God and Monsters, a story by Bruce Timm, which is basically a look at the alternate world with the Justice League in. I'm not going to go through the whole story because that'd be boring as fuck. Just going to say it's an alternate story with 3 members of the Justice League where Superman's been raised by like Mexican immigrants and he's called, oh, what the fuck was it, Hernan Guerrero or something stupid.
That is correct.
Batman is Kirk Langstrom.
Which I thought was interesting.
And I will also give massive props to the movie for the fact Wonder Woman is Becca.
Indeed.
Daughter of the High Father.
The only reason I give him props for that is she's been in like fuck all. Literally, the character Becca's been in like nothing.
Although I do have to say, why did Batman have to be Batman?
He wasn't. He was technically Man-Bat.
No, but literally, the portrayal of Batman is fucking Batman. He doesn't change. Even though he's Kirk Langstrom, it's like he's the fucking same. And I'm like, you couldn't have changed the personality just a little bit? Because literally, when I'm hearing the guy speak, he sounds like Batman, and I'm like, oh, come on! If you're gonna make it Kirk Langstrom, make it Kirk Langstrom. Don't make it, Kirk Langstrom speaking like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but it's like all the other characters. Like Becca was treated more like Diana. Even Superman was still acting like Clark Kent a bit.
But see, that makes sense because he still has the same mother. So technically, at least part of him is still the same person.
No, he has the same biological mother, but he is not raised by the Kents, which is his entire reason for being Clark Kent.
Which they changed him enough. Basically, he inherently is the same person, or at least partially the same person, because biologically his mother is the same mother, but because of how he was raised in in like poverty and in war and stuff like that. So he saw all the hardships and stuff that like actual Superman didn't see, which is why he acted the way he did, and he spoke a little bit differently. Langstrom didn't act or sound that much different to Bruce Wayne. He was almost literally a carbon copy of Bruce Wayne.
I was saying this Superman was basically normal Superman, just whenever he's gone into one of his little moods that he's been in before now. And this was, it may be like Bruce Wayne a bit, but it makes perfect sense because he's going to be a reserved Bat-themed person with everything that happened to him. It stands to reason he's going to be like he is because he's basically a vampire.
And the fact of the matter is, he's a brilliant scientist, so he's still going to stand in front of a computer and spout a whole lot of information that he's looked up because that's what he was before he became Batman.
Which is fine. I'm just saying the way he delivered the lines, the way the voice sounded, it sounded like Bruce Wayne. And I'm like, Kirk Langstrom is, at least from what I've saw, and really I've only seen like the cartoon. Haven't really seen much of Man-Bat in the comics, but from what I saw, like at least in the cartoon, an animated series, Kirk Langstrom was less reserved than Bruce Wayne. He wasn't as closed in. Yeah, he was singular-minded in his work, similar to Bruce, but he had more personality. He had more charisma.
He did, because like you said, he wasn't as closed in because he had a world he could go out into.
Yes.
Yes.
He had 2 best friends. Like you said, there were 2 people in this world I loved, and now they're both gone.
Yeah, he lost the 2 people close to him, like Bruce Wayne, and because of the vampire in him, he couldn't have a life outside of his work now. It stands to reason he'd become the same type of person.
I suppose it just struck me as odd that he was literally Bruce Wayne in Michael Morbius's body. I'm like, really?
Okay, then.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping. I was like, okay, Kirk Langstrom, that's kind of cool. I like that twist. And he's like exactly the same. At least with Superman and Wonder Woman, I could at least feel the differences in the characters. The fact that Superman wasn't Clark Kent, or even Kal-El for that matter, and Wonder Woman wasn't Diana. She was Becca.
Actually, Superman's pretty close to him most of the times he's gone dark.
Really?
Yep. And like I said, and like Becca seemed exactly almost like Diana, which is fair enough. Because to be fair, that it's meant to be the character of what people know is about Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, just slightly darker.
Yep. Also, since I don't think anybody mentioned it, for the sake of people listening to this who may not have seen the movie, it should be noted that the other difference with Superman is that instead of his father being Jor-El, his father is Zod.
Because
Yep.
Zod was a dick and injected his own DNA into there.
Yep.
Also, a rather large difference to actual Superman's backstory is the fact that Superman wasn't alive when he left Krypton. He was born with... They actually put the birthing matrix, so to speak, into the ship, and he was actually birthed en route to Earth. Which I'm like, okay, that's actually a fascinating twist on the lore.
That was kind of interesting.
See, something I found interesting was just the beginning. Ish, for the first little bit. I just loved the fact they were killing all the famous names. Like I was like, oh my god, it's the Atom when they showed Ray Palmer and stuff. Oh my god, when I see the idea of Victor Freeze, I'm like, oh god, yes, it's Mr. Freeze.
And
Because you're not used to seeing him with hair and stuff.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing Savannah like as a good guy. I'm like, wait, holy shit.
Hell, there was even Cyborg.
Yeah.
And his dad.
At
Yeah,
first,
Cyborg and his dad. They had Steel in there. I didn't recognize Steel at first. I had to read the credits. I'm like, oh, that's who that was. That was Irons.
Yep.
Yeah, at first, because I read the IMDb page for it because I wanted to know who the big major cast was because I saw Jason Isaacs in the cast. I'm like, who the fuck does he play? And he does a brilliant job. He plays Luthor.
Of course.
And he did it phenomenally. But I was looking up the cast. I'm like, oh, Kerry Payton's in the same. I'm like, wait, why is he not playing Cyborg? And then I saw the actual thing, and I'm like, oh, because Cyborg's a kid. Fair enough. Makes sense.
Yep.
Because Kerry Payton voices Steel.
Yep.
And somebody else. I can't remember who else he voices. Voices two people.
Yeah, but
yeah, that was
I thought
awesome.
that was kind of cool. I will say, just for people listening, I know the other two are going to disagree or whatever, and that's perfectly fine. Did not like the ending. The ending kind of ruined this film for me.
Oh?
Well, yeah, it's meant to be the Justice League as like these monsters, and they're not going to be the Justice League that we know, but at the end, they've pretty much just become the Justice League.
Pretty much.
And I'm like, that's not really a new twist then, because I can kind of guess where this is going after this, to the same place as all the other Justice League stories.
Although the twist I did like is that Luthor was never evil and he basically becomes Orion, which I'm like, that's kind of awesome.
Well, whether or not he was evil begs to differ.
Well, I got the feeling that this version of Luthor wasn't as inherently evil as actual Luthor, and that's not to say actual Luthor is actually evil, but this Luthor saw the threat of Superman and his people, because Superman and his people weren't exactly good guys up until like this story. Because they were ruling through fear and stuff, and Luthor was like, no, that's kind of bullshit. Humanity needs to be able to defend itself and not be under these guys' thumb. And that's what he always wanted. And at the end, when the Justice League kind of became the Justice League, Luthor was like, okay, you guys have learned the error of your ways. You're not going to like mass murder people anymore. You're actually going to try to protect us. I'm cool with that. Superman, here's your shit. I have a Mobius chair. Becca, let me take you home and let's see what we can do. And it's like he's actually kind of a hero, which I like. I'm like, that's a nice twist.
Yeah, the reason I say, depending on your definition, is because everything you just described is pretty much how Lex normally is. Minus the ending.
Except that, despite the fact that on more than one occasion Superman has shown, hey, I'm not evil, I'm not trying to rule you or anything, I'm actually here trying to help you, Luthor doesn't care and still sees him as a threat.
Yeah, but
whereas in this one, all Luthor wanted was for them to say, hey, you know what, we're not going to rule you, we're going to fight by your side and help you.
But like I said, Lex, that's part of who Lex is, just because I would put to you, is Batman a good guy? Or a bad guy?
Actual Batman?
Yeah.
Good guy.
Then why does he have kryptonite with plans to kill Superman?
In case Superman goes evil.
The same thing with Lex.
Well, yeah, that's why he has the stuff. I'm just saying the way Lex acts. If the Lex in this cartoon is different to the actual Lex in the fact that that actual Lex, like I said, in actual world, all the good guys are actual good guys. They've shown they're good guys. They've shown they're heroes. They've shown they're helping people. And Lex just doesn't give a shit because they're not human, because he sees them as above human, and he doesn't like that. Whereas in Gods and Monsters, Lex is like, okay, yeah, you're more than human and whatnot, but you know what? You're not evil. You're actually trying to help. So you know what? I'm okay with that. And
Yeah,
that's different to actual Lex, and I like that difference.
Yes, but as I was saying, actual Lex, if you've read comics instead of just the cartoons, one of the big driving forces they've even gone into, and he's even had redemption storylines before, is the fact he's doing that because he just wants what's best for humanity.
Yes.
Which I was like, that's kind of what they drew on for this, with it being Bruce Timm. I can kind of see why he would draw upon that. And it makes perfect sense. The only difference is this Lex went good at the end. And I was like, that's kind of cool, but I wasn't going to say the other Lex is inherently just pure evil. That's
No.
more the Saturday morning cartoon one. He's had great moments that this one's based upon where he's actually just does what's best for humanity. And I'm like, that's cool. I always liked that.
Yeah. They have the same motivation. It's just that the actual Lex has, I would say, more of a distrust toward those who are not out and out human. Even Batman, who he probably sees as slightly above humanity because he would favor the heroes over actual humanity, even though Batman's constantly said, yeah, you know what, yeah, they're my friends and stuff, but I'm going to do what I feel is right for my people, not, stick by the heroes, so to speak, which is why he's usually like Gotham and whatnot. But I think actual Lex has more a penchant for deviousness and for evil than the one in Gods and Monsters, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying actual Lex is evil, I'm just saying the one in Gods and Monsters is more of a penchant for good, as is shown by, okay, you're not evil anymore. Cool, I trust you. I'm going to go do other heroic stuff. Bye.
Yeah, I was agreeing he's more good he's more quote good than what we know from Lex. I'm not saying actual Lex, because you can't say actual Lex when there's multiple fucking versions.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta stop saying that. But you just said, I'm not saying actual Lex is evil. That was literally the sentence that started this, was, well, actual Lex is evil, this one's good. I'm like, that was the sentence that did that, because I was like, that's part of the joy of Lex, is he's more of a grey character at times.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would argue the difference here is that the Lex we normally see in most versions of the continuity is a far more aggressive Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
This Lex Luthor is much more of a passive individual. He saw the threat of Superman and super beings potentially coming over humans, so he still developed the technology to stop them. But he never aggressively went after them using the technology to try to stop them by force. He let the government handle it and said, here's what you need to stop them. If you need to do that, go deal with that. I'm going to go map the universe and I'm going to go learn stuff because knowledge.
Yep.
I think it's more Lex that we know refuses to admit that he's wrong, whereas Lex in Gods and Monsters admitted at the end, okay, I was wrong about you. Fair enough. Take care of Earth. If you need me, you know how to get a hold of me. See ya. Whereas Lex, who will not admit that he's wrong, he knows he's wrong. He knows the heroes are heroes. He just doesn't care because he hates them that much. Because he's like, no, fuck you, humanity number one.
Yeah, like I said, it's what Jim said. The other Lex is more aggressive with what he does. This one's more of a hybrid of the two Lexes. I say the two because there's two main Lexes in most stuff. One was the mad scientist, and one was businessman, who everyone knows for most stuff nowadays. It's more of a hybrid of the two, of like, he's the scientist, but with the business Lex's motivations for what's best for humanity, mix them both together. It's kind of wonderful.
Yep. I also find this Lex to be a little bit of a hypocrite because he sat up in his fucking watchtower and watched as humanity killed itself. I'm like, you're not going to protect the people who fucking worked for you? Really?
You only find this version of Lex to be a hypocrite?
Well, the other one too, but I'm just saying.
Yes, so that's all versions of Lex.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, part of what makes Lex Lex. It's like saying, well, I found this Superman to be capable of flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's also possible Lex did it on purpose because he knew that this would allow the Justice League to become the Justice League.
And I think it's more of because they tried to kill him. He's like, fuck you.
Yeah. I'm out. Your problem.
But they didn't try to kill him at that point. He just said, I wanted to pull out.
Because let's face it, Superman went up to Lex, told him he wasn't trying to do what's best for humanity. He wasn't trying to hurt humanity. Superman even told him he was not trying to do what's anything evil, and Lex still told him, "No, go away." It was only when Lex's own life was put at stake, when those things entered the tower to try and kill him, did Lex then turn around and side with Superman, just because he would take care of them. Because it's only after they attempted to blow him the fuck up did he turn around and say, maybe I should side with the ones who are helping me.
Yeah.
So he's not that different. It's still the enemy of my enemy situation, like when he's teamed with Superman before now with Darkseid.
Well, I would also imagine Lex probably had a way of keeping tabs on things down below, even without the Watchtower. And it might have also been when Superman was like, I saw a madman destroy my home. I'm not going to let one destroy this one. And basically sided with the humans. When he saw the inherent good in Superman, he was probably like, okay, yeah. He's actually got like the planet's best interest at heart now. He's not like going to go half off, half cocked and kill people. Maybe I should actually help him now. That and the whole, okay, they tried to kill me, fuck.
Yeah, I would say that's good. I would say that's a good theory. However, all it showed us was they tried to kill him. Then Lex showed up to help Superman stop the thing that tried to kill him. They didn't imply Lex did this to bring the Justice League together. They didn't imply he had secret stuff to monitor stuff because he's inherently a good guy. All they told us was he almost got killed, so he went out of his way to fuck over the people who were fucking him over.
Pretty much.
Which, that's typical Lex.
Yeah.
I also like that they kind of turned him into Professor Xavier with like the hover chair and shit.
I also like that.
The Mobius chair. I'm like, I like that Lex is the one that invented the Mobius chair. I'm like, that's kind of awesome. And also like Wonder Woman's sword with the fucking boom tube technology. I'm like, that's awesome.
That was interesting.
Now she's thinking with portals.
Makes sense. She is a new god.
Yeah, she is.
I liked watching through and seeing all the all the characters show up and picking all the different characters out and seeing different things. Like okay, she's the new guy. Okay, and I'm picking everything out as I went through and figuring out what characters were what and how things had changed in this universe. That was a lot of fun.
I also found it interesting that Darkseid wasn't evil.
Yeah.
That we saw.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, we saw. He's still Darkseid. So
it looked like Highfather was far more evil than Darkseid was, so yeah.
Highfather's always been a power-hungry asshole.
Actually, technically, I believe Darkseid was evil.
Fair enough.
Because I believe that was the reason she was going to do this, was to help her people, because they'd lived in fear of Darkseid, and this would bring them both together. Then, therefore, her father used this as an advantage to basically siege power for himself.
Yeah, but then she fell in love with Orion and was like, no, don't keep my boyfriend.
Yeah, Orion wasn't good, but Orion was at least capable of redemption, it looked like, but I'm pretty sure Darkseid was evil because he's made him live in that much fear that it's drove him to this.
That is true.
True. And that's right, that's the other character that Kerry Payton voiced. He voiced Granny Goodness.
Yeah, there you go.
Which I was like, wow, that's actually amazing, because that was a good voice for Granny Goodness.
Mm.
And I will say, I like the fact, for those wondering, this will get a season 2.
Oh.
Mm.
Well, there's a season 1 that was already up on Machinima before the film came out. There was an official web series made by DC Comics to tie into this before the film came out.
Oh.
Then after when it's the film, then it's going to be season 2. It's been extended for a series amount of episodes.
Oh.
Cool. So it's just Justice League Gods and Monsters, the series?
The series is on Machinima, yeah. They're like little mini episodes of stuff. Like one episode you see Batman kill Harley Quinn.
Fair enough.
Okay then.
Well, he's a vampire. What's going to happen when she goes after him?
Yeah. Is it sad that it took me like over a half an hour of hearing people call Batman Kirk before I realized it was Langstrom?
Yes.
Cause they call him Kirk, some dude named Kirk, Kirk. And then as they're doing this own experiments, with Batman, they're like, oh, that's how it became that. And then he's talking about Batman and everything. I'm like, wait, Kirk. Oh, it's fucking Langstrom. Jesus Christ.
Well, it ain't Cobain, motherfucker.
No, it ain't.
Also, I would say Batman
'Cause he was Kurt, not Kirk.
would not have necessarily killed Harley. I mean, my guess is Harley probably threatened him, but because it showed at the end of the movie that Batman actually has the capacity to not instinctively kill somebody or bite them, because when fucking Will Magnus had the blood running down his neck, Batman was like, no, not gonna do it.
But that's a lesson he learned in the movie, and like I said, I've seen the web series. It's before this. It literally ends with him going ripping into her.
Fair enough.
At the beginning of the movie, he ripped into a half a dozen terrorists. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah, it's part of the lesson he's learned to control his bloodlust a bit.
Yeah. Fake plasma.
Now, I have to wonder, the flight, is that part of his natural abilities, or is that part of the suit that he built?
Given that he doesn't regularly have wings when he walks around, I'm going to assume that's part of the suit.
Oh, that's the one thing about this movie that I was like, no, that's not how vampirism works. When he first becomes the vampire and he's out on the street, he's all weak because, as anybody who's seen anything to do with vampires knows, in most things that vampires are, shown, when you first become a vampire, you're basically weak as a baby until the first time you feed, and that's when the full vampirism kicks in and you get the strength, the speed, the flight, what have you. He's walking around, and they show him all woozy and weak because he hasn't fed, and the guys attack him, and all of a sudden he has vampiric speed and power. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. He's not supposed to get that until after he bites him.
To be fair, that's proper 100% like normal vampires from the mythical side. This is something he himself created, so it's going to work slightly differently.
Yeah.
Because every different variants of vampirism I've ever seen in like lore and mythos and culture and stuff always has, when vampires are first created, when you first become a vampire, you have no power until you first feed.
Again, I just said, but this is something they've made just for them. It's like there's various versions of vampires, and hell, if you go by Dusk Till Dawn, they're not even vampire. They're not even based on bats. They're based on snakes.
Fair enough.
Because you get scales all over them. However, this is something he made himself, so it's like an extension of the man-bat serum, but it turns him in, instead of being all bat-like, he's just almost vampire, if that makes sense. So he's vampire, but he's not actually he's not like a mythical vampire. It's one they've made so they can make their own rules around him.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It just seemed kind of off that they showed him as all weak and wootsy and stuff, and all of a sudden he has super speed and strength. I'm like, if he's got super speed and strength, why is he walking around like a drunk twit?
Because having super speed and strength does not inherently give you a clear head to be able to use it.
Yeah, because he was adjusting.
Yeah. And then they attacked him and his bat instincts of defense kicked in and he beat them up.
Psychologically, why was Superman able to fly?
Yep.
I don't know. There was an explanation. I don't remember what the explanation for Superman's slide is, but yeah.
No, the only reason I say that is that some stuff say it's an extension of his strength, other ones go with other stuff. Just because first Superman comics he didn't fly, which means if you go by that, logically he has to have gone through all that stuff to have learned to fly. What? But I'm like, no, I'm okay with this.
Yep.
Fair enough. Yeah, it just seems a little off to me.
Also, why didn't he use freeze breath? He never used the freeze breath.
Maybe this version of Superman doesn't have freeze breath.
He's a Kryptonian. He has freeze breath under a yellow sun.
Maybe he didn't need it.
That's true. He obviously didn't need it. He kicked ass without it. I'm just saying. If I was fighting a dude made of liquid metal, I would freeze that metal so that it hardened and he was unable to move.
Also, I find it a little bit interesting. They decided to pull together like all the most brilliant minds in DC and stuff to form this like coalition of super minds.
Yep.
Yet no Ted Kord. What the fuck?
Who?
Blue Beetle.
Oh.
He's one of the most brilliant minds in all of DC. Nowhere to be seen.
How do you know he's alive?
Yeah.
Because if you remember, there's been multiple Blue Beetles after him.
True.
Like the most famous one at the moment nowadays is the one where they try to reinvent him as Spider-Man.
True, but I would also I
thought
would
they were, I
argue.
thought they were reinventing Iron Man as Spider-Man.
No, they gave Blue Beetle to like a teenager, and he has like a similar personality as Spider-Man. Even the Blue Beetle costume becomes more Spider-Man-like when he wears it, and he's awesome. But that's the most famous one at this point in time.
Gotcha.
I would say yes if he just got killed for some random reason or some random like illness that he got. Otherwise, I would say he would have to be alive, if not like shot by a random mug or something, because young Victor Freeze and young Victor Stone, like child Victor Stone.
Yeah.
Which Ted Kord didn't become Blue Beetle until Victor Stone was in the Titans.
Yeah, but there's various different stuff in this that contradicts various timelines. It's their own world.
I suppose. I don't know. It just seemed odd that they made that. That they chose all these, characters you wouldn't normally see. But it makes sense given they were trying to, get all these brilliant minds, and then they don't choose Ted Kord. I'm like, you choose Ray Palmer, you don't have Ted Kord in there with him. What?
Like I said, because it might be because they're trying to push like the new Blue Beetle stuff at the moment.
Was there any Blue Beetles in this thing?
No, but if they don't show any of them, it can be any of the Blue Beetles that you want could be around, or they might do sequels and stuff.
True. Fair enough. It just seemed like an automation to me. That's all.
No, it might be. But like I said, I think that I was just saying. I think that was the reason why is because if they included him, they'd feel they'd have to include all of the ones. Like, oh, we're including Cyborg's dad. We have to include Cyborg. So it'd be like, oh well, if we include him, we have to include all the Blue Beetle people.
Well, they did include Cyborg. He just wasn't Cyborg yet because he was a kid.
That was my point.
He died.
That was my point. They did include him. I just said that. Yeah, like they showed Cyborg's dad. They have to show Cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to show. They don't have to show all the Blue Beetles.
Mm-hmm. I also find it interesting that Cyborg's dad was creating the cyborg technology when he was attacked. I'm like, that's kind of cool. So he had like Cyborg's like fucking big fuck off cannon on his arm.
Yep.
I thought that was cool. And then now the question becomes, who's going to get that technology?
No one.
The government.
No one.
Why do you say that?
Because I'm pretty sure the enemies helped destroy most of it and incorporate most of it into their arsenal. Because when they were killing them, they were taking various stuff from them, which was helping the enemies evolve. So I think technically the enemies had it.
No. Actually, I would probably say yes, and I'd probably say Batman probably has it too. Now, whether he has the ability to actually build it, I don't know. Because doesn't he have Dr. Stone's files?
He has the files, but I don't know whether or not that means he built them. But
no, he probably has at least the blueprints and stuff, so he has the means to do it. And Superman with Kryptonian technology, and Superman like built all the Kryptonian stuff. Superman could probably build that.
it sounds like a stretch.
No, I kind of like the world they've created, though, and I kind of want to actually see that sequel web series, that Machinima series, because that sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, at the moment it's like a mini series. It's like a prequel, but it's like I say mini because like each episode's like 10 minutes, if that.
Fair enough.
And Jim's gone oddly quiet. Jim?
Jim.
I'm here.
Cool. Well, we look forward to your thoughts on everything we just said. To prove you were here. Yo.
I was here. I didn't say I was listening. I just said I was here.
You heard it here live, folks. So yep, yep.
Yep, Jim cares not about the podcasts.
Nope.
I missed one little piece. Excuse me.
Not quite a little bit. I'm surprised they don't make this a full-fledged series, because, like you said, with them trying to make this, a darker, different version of the Justice League and stuff, and with what's popular now, I could see this being a hugely successful, like, actual full cartoon series.
I can see it being a successful web series for the older people. I don't see it being a successful series.
Really?
Because remember, based on the rating and the language used in this, it's not for kids. Not the kid audience. It's only going to go
True.
so far.
True.
Yeah, like that's the reason they got rid of Young Justice and various other ones on Cartoon Network, is because just having the adult audience, Cartoon Network doesn't want it.
I thought Cartoon Network did that because they hate gender equality.
Yeah, there was the gender equality, and there was also the fact there was a massive adult audience, and they were like, but we're not getting any toys now.
Mm.
We're not getting any toy sales, we don't care. But it's written really well, it looks great, don't care. And it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, you want us to care, give us your money.
Yeah, it's like people said, ironically, if they'd released it on Blu-ray or DVD and released adult merchandise, like more adult T-shirts and stuff, people would have bought them.
Probably, yeah.
Because the thing that you forget is comic fans aren't Power Ranger fans. We actually support official releases and actually give money to the stuff we care about. Boom.
I would also say if they had taken the toy line, instead of making it like the for kids toys and actually made them like, like collectible figures and stuff, I'm pretty sure the adult audience would have bought that stuff.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, they probably would have. I would have bought some. But they made them for kids and they were trying to push it for that. And like, well, we're not getting any money. It's like, well, make some adult merchandise. But yeah, with this, I think it'll find a good place online because they're becoming big right now. Is the web animated series. Like, ironically, DC's got another one, a Vixen, which is a tie-in to Arrow and Flash.
Nice.
Which is fine. Though the only reason why I say I wish it would be a full series is because on web series the episodes are too short. I want like full episodes of this because this would be really good. If you try to cram everything into like 10 minutes, it could be good. And like you said the prequel series is good, but it's like I want more. I want a half an hour, actual full episode of this.
Which is fine, but you'll get the equivalent of a half an hour episode. It'll just be spread out over 3 episodes.
Yeah, and what they did with the smaller ones is while they were like the smaller series of like I think it was like 10 episodes, 8 episodes or something of like 10 minutes each. Those 10 minutes were perfect little just stories with like no padding, no filler, nothing, just the story, and that was really interesting. It's like, oh, well, that's cool. I had to see the next one. Which I think they might, and when they do with the fact that the series, they said they're going to extend the episodes, they might extend the length. I don't know.
Oh, fair enough. I hope so, because the animation I actually really like the animation. I was a little surprised. I was like, ooh, this is actually pretty good animation. Good cast. That's the other thing is, are they going to get the cast back?
Yeah, the animation was okay. The reason I say animation was okay is I love the animation, but I can't say it's the best animation or the worst, if that makes sense. Because basically, since Young Justice, that's been how all the animation's been done in every of the DC movies. Like that's very similar to like the Flashpoint animation or the one from Justice League War. Or I just watched, when was it? Just the other day, how I watched that, the Justice League Throne of Atlantis.
Cool.
Mainly because that Justice League War onwards is the new continuity, because they're doing are actually making all the animated films be in one continuity, besides a couple like Arkham.
Right.
Which I like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I never said this was the best animation.
Oh,
it's
no.
Good animation.
It is, but I was saying, I was making a point of that's the new style moving forward for most of the DC films.
Which makes sense. It's a good style.
Yeah,
it is. I like that style. I do like that, but I was making that case because I like that because there was a time where if you bought DC films, there'd be big, massive differences in animation between various films. Same thing like when you buy the Marvel ones, where it's some like cel-shaded shit like Hulk and Iron Man. Others are like really like Ben 10-ish looking cartoons, and it's like, cool. I wish there was more unity across your cartoon. So if I look at it, I'm not like, this is a Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, which makes sense. Weren't most of the original Justice League movies, weren't they all like basically in continuity with the
Nope.
actual show, and they used that animation style?
Nope.
Oh, because I thought all the ones that ran Justice League as the title was all that animation style.
Nope. Like Justice League New Frontier was deliberately designed to look like a really old vintage comic at the same name. And most of them, they changed the cast, they changed the characters, like they have Hal on there instead, and various other stuff.
Fair enough.
But ironically, because each one was meant to be like a standalone film, which was cool.
Right.
Then Justice League War, they made it all one continuity going forward, which is cool. I make the case, as I made to Jim, it should have been from Flashpoint.
Yeah.
Because Flashpoint literally was designed to launch New 52. Justice League War, which is the film that starts this new continuity, based on the first New 52 Justice League story.
Yep.
But if you see Flashpoint at the end, they kind of ruin the ending by making everything almost resort back to what it was. Just so it feels better as a film.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense, because as a film, that does work.
Yes.
Because as a film, you can't really make the case of, now, we've done this to change continuity, because that doesn't work.
Well, you could if you're trying to make all your films into one continuity and you're changing the continuity of the movieverse. It's like, okay, you're now establishing the movieverse, and using Flashpoint in that way to end it saying this is a new continuity is basically saying, we're taking what came before, primarily what started in like the actual cartoon, the TV series, and we're saying that's what it is, but this is going to be your DC movie universe.
But that was my point. There was no continuity before the Flashpoint.
Okay, so Flashpoint could be, but there's now a continuity. Boom.
Yeah, which doesn't really work for a film. For how they're doing the animated films. Because even the new ones, while they're in continuity, you can still enjoy them as a standalone film.
True.
Which, that's always better. It makes sense for like the live action ones to do teasers at the end, but you don't want to end the film with just basically being like, yeah, this is an advert for all of our next films. More than that, an Iron Man 3 review available now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I like this film.
It was good.
I didn't like it. Yeah, my only complaint was the ending, which I had to mention, but I like the rest of it.
Yeah, I could see that. But at the same time, if you're doing a Justice League film where they become the Justice League, or they are the Justice League, eventually the status quo is gonna come out, even if the characters are different, even if how they were raised were different. It's still gonna, and especially if you're using the core team, if you're using the big three, even if you change the characters, the dynamic and the group dynamic and basically who they are as a Justice League are gonna be the same. You're not gonna get away from that, unfortunately.
You really haven't read a lot of Justice League stuff. For example, there's an entire team called Dark Justice League, made up of different people. There's been various Justice Leagues and other continuities. This felt like, okay, you're going somewhere cool with this when you're taking it to... Is Jim asleep?
No, I'm not asleep.
Yeah, it sounds... We can hear...
Sorry, I'm really a little heavily. I apologize.
When I said, are you asleep? I heard, what? Huh? No, I'm here. Yeah. No, I was just saying, yeah, so I thought it'd go more to a different place, and at the end it felt like they were just going to be a cookie cutter Justice League.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think it'll be a little bit different, if only because there is some slightly difference to the background. So it did feel like there would be a little bit, some changes. Because when Batman, when Superman says we should turn it all around and we won't kill people anymore, and Batman's like, really? It's an idea.
Yeah, but the fact he
They're
even
probably
said,
going to be a little bit. They're probably going to be, a little bit. They're probably, they're not going to completely change. They'll be a little bit better trying to protect the world, but they're still going to be harsher than an average Justice League. They're still going to be a little more violent, a little more likely to do what needs to be done in situations. It'll be
And a little less trusting.
and a little less trusting.
but I would make the case that's the Justice League now.
Really?
Justice League now are a little harsher than what the Justice League normally are, considering this is the same Justice League with the new continuities and stuff that involved the Superman that held someone over a roof Batman style. And he's your Boy Scout.
True. Like, moving forward with this continuity, I see Batman not really stopping killing. I see him picking and choosing, but I don't see him becoming like the Batman we know of, where he basically outright refuses to kill. I see this one because he's, like you said, vampire. He's going to kill, and he's going to like it. He's just now learned that he has a choice, and so he's not just going to indiscriminately kill.
I don't. I see this Batman basically, with how it ended and stuff, I can see this Batman just not wanting to kill, because he'll see it makes him no different than the monsters that come down. And he doesn't want to be a monster. Even though he might be, he still doesn't want to be. So I could see him going more the Blade route of trying to find some way of containing the cravings without having to do it.
I could see that too, but I still see this Batman he's more violent than Bruce, and he's already killed a lot already, so I don't really see that.
Bruce.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I just don't see him stopping killing altogether. I see him finding ways around it so that he always has that choice of whether he's going to kill or not, but I still see him killing. With Superman, unfortunately, with the way they wrote Superman, I do see him stopping killing and not killing as much, just because he's like, I don't want to be like my father, which, okay, fair enough. But it's going to be a learning curve, because all he's ever known up to this point is, I'm basically a god among men, so therefore I can do whatever the fuck I want. And he's going to have to learn how to control all that power so he doesn't inadvertently kill people he doesn't want to kill. But yeah, I can see him becoming more like actual Superman, because he doesn't want to be like Zod.
Yeah, he'll become more like actual Superman because Lois is helping him and Zod. Batman will become more like actual Batman because he'll be wanting to not give in to his cravings. He'll see it as a weakness, and he'll also see it as the thing that stops the Justice League being able to operate as well, because people would be afraid of him. So I could easily see him becoming more like Batman, which I'm like, I would rather have seen him go different too, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I make the point, people are afraid of actual Batman. That's like his shtick.
Yeah, hence why he always takes Robin with him, because he doesn't want the people to be afraid of him, only criminals. That's literally one of the psychology reasons that they've brought up in Batman multiple times for why he has Robin with him. It's so that the people on the street who Batman's helping aren't afraid of Batman.
Ah. Thought it was because he was lonely.
He has Alfred.
True.
See, I thought it was because Robin keeps him from going fucking psycho and killing people.
No, his own restraint keeps him from doing that. But seeing Batman, like, let's say you're in the street and you're seeing him, like, oh no, and you see Batman come down. If you're a normal person, you think, oh shit, and you know about the stories of Batman. If you see him with a child with him,
yeah,
inherently you think there's something nice about that. But if you're a criminal, you still know, okay, well, there's something nice about that. He's still going to beat the shit out of me. I should still be afraid.
Well, yeah, criminals are a superstitious and cowardly lot.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I just know that, like, in the old continuity before New 52, I know it was mentioned. I think Dick mentioned it because he noticed it, that Bruce needs the leavening of a Robin because once, like, Jason Todd died and he went solo, I think Dick noticed, Bruce is kind of scary. He's kind of going mental, and he's gonna, like, hurt people and kill people without a Robin there to tell him, hey, fuck the hell off, Batman. You're not going down that path.
Yeah, I was on about the old continuity as well. It was brought up more that Robin's there to help the image of Batman for the public.
Yeah, I could see that too. I just always felt it was more for Bruce's psychological well-being as much as it was for, the psychological thing with with the people, the image he's putting out to the people.
See, I always thought it was more for the one I mentioned because that's the one they always mention the most.
Fair enough.
But it's still fun.
Indeed.
Yeah. Ironically, I think the most interesting character here is Wonder Woman, because they could go classic Wonder Woman route with her, but you could also see her being something completely different.
See, I think she's the least interesting.
Really?
Well, they writ her out to go back to her own world with Lex, and then become a princess or whatever there, and to rule that place. If I could easily see him just writing her the fuck out,
I could see that happening too, and that
because
would make
her story's pretty much complete.
Yeah.
true. Then the question becomes, who are they going to find to fill out the league? See, and that's where if they're smart, that's where they could.
Hal Jordan.
Probably. But that's where they could make the league differ, is not necessarily in the characters they choose to use, but in the changes they make to those characters and how they interact with Batman and Superman.
Mm.
And also whether they decide to have Batman and Superman go classic Batman and Superman route or not. Because while they heavily hinted at it at the end, they did leave it open when like Jim mentioned, when Batman was like, yeah. When Batman was like, yeah, no. And Superman was like, well, it's just something to think about. That's saying, yeah, they hinted at, okay, yeah, they've kind of learned their lesson, they're going to temper it, but at the same time, the characters are different enough that they may not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they left it open a little bit, but it just felt really, like I said, I don't know, it just felt like, oh, okay, I know it. You can almost know where this is going, and at the end, it felt like a typical Justice League ending.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fair enough, but I expect that with all the Justice League films and stuff, that's fair enough. But with this one, it felt more like this was trying to not just be a Justice League film. It was more like an Elseworlds comic. I wanted more like an Elseworld ending.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Well, I could understand.
I can agree with that.
But do everyone want to give their ratings? And I'll let Jim go first, as he's pretty much been quiet for most of it.
Well, I talked quite a bit for the beginning of it and into certain parts of it. Overall, I really liked the movie. I thought it was a great different world to explore. I like seeing where all the different characters were and how they had changed in this world. You know, I like learning about the three Justice League members and what was different about them. I already knew about Superman being Zod's son, but the rest I learned a lot about, and that was pretty neat seeing all that. Seeing how they interacted with the world, you know, Manowar being president, Luthor being a non-aggressor, and, you know, kind of being on the other side of things for once. It was really interesting seeing this world develop into a version of the DC Universe and how the characters were the same and yet different. I always like when they do that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it quite a bit. The ending, they're kind of going into main Justice League, but it was kind of cool to see the heroes go that way because they're still the quote unquote heroes. So I think it's kind of what they figured people would expect them to do. So overall, I'd give this a 9. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was great.
Cool. And Marcus?
I too really enjoyed this movie, more than I thought I was going to enjoy it. I didn't really know what to expect going into this, but I didn't actually expect it to be this good. And it was actually really good. It was a good story, good animation, great cast.
You didn't expect to like this?
Not as much as I did, no.
Is that, yeah, sorry, the way you worded that was, yeah, I like this more than I thought I was probably going to. It made it sound like you weren't expecting to like this. Because I said second was a trailer hit, and I linked it to everyone. Your first response, like all of ours, was we must review this.
Yeah, because I thought it would make for a good review, and I thought it would be at least decent because it looked, the animation seemed pretty good and the story seemed good. But yeah. I was like, at the same time, I'm like, okay, this is a Justice League movie, so I don't know where they're gonna go with this. And I like, because I didn't know how different the characters were going to be or what they were going to do in the world. I didn't know if they were going to play it safe and not change too much. And they actually changed quite a bit, killed off a lot of characters. And I'm like, okay, you have balls, movie. I like this. And also, I wasn't expecting it to be like rated mature. You know what I mean? Like with the language and shit. I was like, wow, this is like an adult movie. I like this.
Oh yeah, it was great.
I was like, this is cool. They weren't afraid to swear. They weren't afraid to fucking have guts ripped out. Batman tearing shit apart. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It's different, and I like different. This works.
Indeed.
The ending. I kind of like the ending, but at the same time, I can understand the whole. Okay, well now they're trying to establish the status quo here, and maybe that's not what they should have done with this one. But like Jim said, maybe they were a little afraid that if they had bucked the expectation, that it would not have garnered as favorable as a review or a opinion as they would have wanted, which is probably why they played it a little safe and was like, okay, well, let's just make them the Justice League at the end. Although, as Mole pointed out, they could just easily write Wonder Woman off because they had her go off, which if Wonder Woman never returns, are they really the Justice League? Because as we've said multiple times, the Justice League are those three. They are the core of the League.
Well,
and without Wonder Woman, are they really the League?
Well, they're the Trinity, not necessarily the League.
Yeah, I would argue the League existed before any of those three was a member.
I'm pretty sure they didn't, but okay.
Yes, the original League was founded. The original League had primary members such as the Martian Manhunter, the Green Lantern. Let's see, who else were the main original members, Mole?
Can't remember who the main original members were, but to be fair, they were only the main members in one continuity, and it wasn't that popular. To the point, it only really became Justice League of America, which is what the main Justice League is. It only became the Justice League as we know it once those three entered.
Well, I was making the point that the Justice League as an entity did exist before those three. I was only making my point.
Yeah, but I was making the case of they were a Justice League, but they weren't the Justice League of America and the staple and how it was branded now.
Right. I know there was the group of like the Golden Age heroes, the heroes that came before them, and that's the Justice Society.
Yep, there was the Justice Society first.
Which the Justice Society is awesome, but yeah, the League has always been the core of the League has always been those three, and it's just built upon that, like those three and like Manhunter, and it just built upon that. And taking Wonder Woman out of the equation, in my opinion, radically changes the dynamic of the League because you've eliminated one of the core three of the League. Now, whether it will feel that different or not, I don't know. It depends on the writing or where they want to go with it. But I could see that. I could see if they ran with that and actually changed some stuff up, because now they don't have a Wonder Woman. Or they have Wonder Woman, but she's just not there. That could be interesting, especially with how they were teasing that they're going toward the status quo at the end. If it's like we kind of are, but we kind of aren't, I think that could be an interesting direction. But
Indeed.
This movie, in and of itself, is a complete movie. It's a complete story, and it's really, really good. I recommend anyone who's a fan of DC comics, movies, who's a fan of the Justice League cartoons, Young Justice, just a fan of DC stuff in general, check this out. Buy it. It's totally worth it. In fact, I'm probably going to end up buying it. It's that good.
Fair enough. I'm of the opinion the story was pretty good. I like the overarching story. So the characterizations, I like the characterizations. I like the art, the voices, and stuff like that. However, I know the other two mentioned it, but so I'll just address it here quickly. Of the swearing, was made the story feel really immature. Because, like we said before, now, like the best Justice, like the best adult comic book stories, don't need swearing all over it like fucking kids on a playground. You can do go read The Killing Joke and compare how many swearing is in that to this. It kind of made it feel more immature than what it was meant to, so it kind of hurt it. And that ending of going towards the status quo instead of what it could have been, like it wasn't going to reach its potential, made it feel like it was a great concept, but when they watered it down for like idiots. So I'm going to give it a rent. Some people will like it, some people might not.
Sounds about right.
Fair enough. I would like to say I don't think there's as much swearing in this as you think there is, Mo. At least to me, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of swearing. It was just enough, and I was like, okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah, I think the point of making though is that there's not a lot of swearing because we're used to a lot of swearing in these videos and anything else we do. But compared to the normal level of language in any Justice League property or any DC property, this was a lot of swearing.
Yeah, I was making the case of compare this to, say, Under the Red Hood movie, or even Batman Return of the Joker, and this one's got so much more in it, yet the Return of the Joker feels more like the mature story in comparison and doesn't have a single swear word. The second they started adding them is when it just sort of hurt it.
Fair enough. I didn't feel it hurt it, but fair enough.
Well, I know you didn't. I was just addressing it in my final thoughts as you guys listed it as a positive.
Fair enough.
I mean, I didn't mind the blood and stuff in there because that made sense. I felt that because I would have complained if there had been more blood than what there should have been because it would have gone too gory. But
Right.
like I said, yeah, I was giving it a rent.
Fair enough.
Like I said, great concept. They kind of watered it down. But I was your host for this one, Chriz, aka The Mole. Joining me, as you heard, was Marcus Shadow
Bye.
and James Phoenix.
Thanks for having me.
Peace.